either good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you sit. My name is Maggie Pelletier, and I'm with Neustar. We work with some of the largest brands in the world to help them better understand their customers, orchestrate the customer journey across channels, and optimize their media and marketing investments, all in a privacy-first way. Josephine, over to you for a quick intro.
Hi, my name is Josephine Chu. As you can tell, Maggie and I are not actually pretending to be in the same room. I am heading up the integrated marketing at Wells Fargo for brand building purposes, part of the public affairs. So brand building, corporate social responsibility, and helping out with, bringing sponsorship to life. So that's my role.
Excellent. You have this incredible track record, Josephine, in financial services. So I'd really love for you to talk about your path to your current role at Wells Fargo, if you could.
Thanks, Maggie. Yeah, so in asking that question, I just realized that I probably, run the circuit on the Bay Area financial, Schwab, Visa. We did a lot of global work at Franklin Templeton, which was a lot of fun. It's an investment mutual funds company, and I was recruited as a digital person a few years ago at Wells Fargo at that time trying to help bring the brand to an iconic level, because that was when Wells Fargo was at the top of all the larger banks. But of course, everyone is aware of what had happened, and the last few years has been spending a lot of time trying to help rebuild the brand, because we actually do a lot of good. It's just how do we gain back the trust? So very digital, but also in the last couple of years, Maggie, it's you stop chasing after the digital dollars. Everything has become digital, so everything is kind of coming to your connected TV, your billboards, your beacons in the stadiums, you name it. So suddenly my digital marketing skills is quite it's really kind of led me to where I am. So
all right, well, we're talking about TV today, and it really seems like the lines have been blurring and continue to blur between entertainment and TV. So from your perspective, what is entertainment and what is TV?
Yeah, I was watching the earlier panel and I was listening to Paul talk, and I think we almost have to take TV all the way through, because for us, especially now during the pandemic, TV is basically our entertainment, right? This is synonymous. Like, how do we really think about TV? So I did a kind of a takeover over the summer on YouTube, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be throwing out names. Doesn't mean that I'm endorsing them. I'm just using them as real examples. It's a few years ago, you find 70-80% probably your audience on YouTube, where you're trying to create content, is going to be on mobile. But right now it flipped on me so badly. It was like 50% or something. I was shocked, and now all of a sudden I go, if you're going to be creating ads, are you going to be creating it for a very large TV screen, even if you're on YouTube? It's a completely different way, and it hit us so quickly, within a time frame of like a couple of months. Like, how do you react to that, right? So you almost have to think of, I think that TV, what you consider as TV, should be entertainment. You're watching, by this time you're running out of things to watch on Netflix and Amazon. You're watching your K-drama, you're watching your Turkish crime drama and your Bollywood movies, and while you're waiting for The Witcher, right, to come back. But the whole thing is you're starting to look at other things like TikTok. You're like, oh, this is kind of interesting. This is really short content. And then you look at YouTube, you go, they're starting to be on shorts. So there must be something there, right? A lot of people you can get really engaged. And how do you, like, literally, I'm watching TikTok of people like ER doctors swearing and Chinese street fashion or something, of financial advice. It was just kind of amazing. But also, so we kind of have to look at it that way. And then if you take a look at my children, they're not watching sort of your TV shows. They're literally watching, I don't know why, my daughter is watching art restoration and nail polish thing at the same time, right? We're watching like swearing botanists and all kinds of really niche things that you never have been exposed in a million years before, if not for this movement of entertainment being on TV. But again, we really, I think, have to question what TV is. So
with that in mind, question what TV is. and your team's focus is on TV. Yes. So what does, how has that impacted the role of your team, and what does, and their focus? And so much has changed, and exponentially and quickly in this past year. What does success look like for you and your team now?
That's such a hard question this year, right? Because, traditionally you've always tried to lean in on sports and music because that's where people's passion are, right? They're really passionate about is live events. You get to be there and you get to be part of the excitement, you get to be around, doing ads that fits into NBA or doing just something fun and contextually relevant. But last year was such a big challenge. And I think we're gonna, with vaccine and everything, we're gonna kind of come out a little bit different this year. But last year it was so hard. It was literally so hard. We couldn't do any production. We couldn't, but still we were able to continue to push in on some of the things like the daily, shows. We're still able to push into that, and I can talk a little bit later about that. And also, a lot of the when live events started coming back, we were trying to move into that a little bit earlier. So I think it's a lot of we can there's a lot of definitely like efficiencies and whatnot of how you can watch talk about TV. But I think the content part is how we're kind of talking about success in that. Even trying to get a TV ad out right nowadays is really important. Very difficult. I mean, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So I think success is how do you get attention, right, to whatever it is that you're putting on TV or any other integrated points of marketing.
Yes. So how do you get attention? Your role is to build the Wells Fargo brand. Full stop. Right. So I have to ask you, how does one do that when in the past, as you mentioned, you've relied on tentpole events like sports and live events. So how do you do that in a world where traditional media events have been few and far between this past year due to lockdown, plus our industry's increasing focus on performance versus brand building?
Yeah. How do you build brand? And as the earlier panel said, you really have to do the full funnel. I mean, they all interplay. It's a huge problem. It was a huge problem. So let me tell you a little bit about what we did this summer, which I think would kind of maybe help reflect this. And it ties back into a lot of people talking about authenticity and everything as well. So yeah, how you're sitting at home and you're going like, I'm sitting here, I can't do anything, right? Nothing is working. But then everything is upside down. Everything is upside down. And I've been here before, not exactly pandemic. So you kind of have to look at things completely differently. For example, one of the things that we've been doing well with Wells Fargo, I don't know if you guys know, but Wells Fargo has been doing corporate social responsibility work since the late 1800s. We've been around doing a lot of good. Not a lot of people know it, but people should. We've been doing a lot of helping a lot of people. So a few years ago, when we embarked upon this working with helping food banks, right? We were doing some crazy logistic things like moving, bringing in, helping collect food from all of our 6,000 branches at the time and delivering it to 600 food banks, and then this summer we were taking and that program was very difficult to put to place because suddenly you're, as a marketer, you don't usually work with logistics, but suddenly you find yourself doing that. But this year, because we've been looking at that space for a little while and doing these pretty successful campaigns. In the beginning of this year, we started looking at all the people who needed help with food. You see these long lines, 7-mile lines in San Antonio. Like, this is all the way back in like March. And in talking to Feeding America, we knew it was going to be a really, really big problem. Now, 1 in 7 Americans have a food insecurity problem. And they were moving the needle to 1 in 9, but the pandemic probably caused us to be something like 1 in 6 and 1 in 4. And you kind of know this, and you have this problem in front of you. You're trying to help solve your company's trust issue. You're trying to solve, maybe there is something you can do to help the community as well. So it was very hard, but we couldn't do something we were doing for 3 years. Suddenly we decided that we were going to, and we did research, right? We go like, what do you want Wells Fargo to do? The number one thing for some odd reason is, helping food bank, maybe because of the campaigns in the past few years, we flipped that on its head. We realized that, you know what, we have these, so many branches. Let's go ahead and open up these branches, and let's go ahead and have people drive through and partner with food banks so that food can be put into your car and then you can drive. So we were able to, an amazing group of people at Wells Fargo working on this. Definitely not alone. And these people are just so much people, so much heart. We ended up with 215 food distributions across 35 cities. We went, this is something I really want to press. Sorry, I'm talking so much here, but it was also at the time of BLM, and it was also a time of, that the pandemic has affected African American and the minorities a lot harder. So we went out looking at heavy African American locations first. You have like Atlanta and Oakland and Philadelphia, and we tried to move into this space. And we were even in, which is starting to become a bit of a food desert over, and where they had protests in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities. But we were also going in there to try to help, right? To do our part. I mean, we're not helping people help people, right? Not necessarily like we're the hero or something. But all of this is to say that you have to work really, really hard nowadays to come up with what is authentic to your company, and that time is we're using all our resources, branches, whatever, to come up with ideas that will really pop and that people go, wow, of course, it's so natural. That's what they should be doing. That's, great job. So we got a lot of kudos. We had exceptionally good social, like with 90-something% positive sentiment, which we never get, right? So huge. That's what I at this point, because, your brand metrics move up and down in a single day. Those are sort of the things you're trying to, gauge your success against.
So. That is just a great example. Thank you for sharing that detail. You had also mentioned while you were sharing the food banks campaign, a campaign that was inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. Is that correct? Can you talk a little bit about that particular initiative?
Yeah. So it wasn't I think as much as Wells Fargo has done a lot of good in the community, I think is so. It's so easy for companies to just put up, a logo or something like that and just say I support. But how do you really, really support the community, right? Right now we have open for business funds, which allow us to go in and support minority and small businesses. And then, but one of the things we did over the summer, which may be more relevant to the marketers who are listening in, is we targeted locations that are definitely predominantly, Black, right? So we went in there and we're like trying really hard. It wasn't always successful. So we had, we were also in San Antonio, Dallas, we were in somewhere in Phoenix, but there were definitely some locations at Oakland that we really wanted to target. So we went in there with that mindset first. But on the path to these, 250, we were 250 food bank distribution. We also did a lot of things what we consider sort of more tent poles, right? So one of the things that we did, and you kind of have to come at this very carefully, because you don't want to go like, I'm the greatest thing because I've done this much for the Black community, but I don't think anyone has done enough for them, right? So we want to continue to do it. And how do we do it? So one of the things I'm very proud of was the Academy of Country Music was one of the second live events that came back. And we supported this woman whose name is called Mickey Guyton. I think she went up to get nominated by a Grammys as well. So we supported her, we partnered with her, we did the sponsor content, we dwelled into her background. This is where the other authenticity come by, right? When your media partners come to you, I always want to go, I don't want it off the shelf. They're going to hate me for saying this. I want something that's really, really real to my campaign and to Wells Fargo. What works for me? What is it? You got to work harder for me. So they came up with Mickey Guyton, who is this wonderful, amazing woman who is this beautiful and this fantastic voice and just the most positive outlook and really, and we supported her in that space, and she was very excited to say that she was the first woman of color to perform solo in the 55 years of the ACM Awards history. So very excited about that. So
That is great. So great to hear. So sounds like two successful, really successful, really big initiatives last year. You said something the other day that I really loved, which was in marketing, if you can't measure it, don't do it. And I think it's really great. It's really great to hear. So how do you measure big initiatives like the last two campaigns you just detailed?
Yeah. There's so many as budgets continue to be compressed and to have a lot of more pressure. There you have to be kind of smarter and smarter to go into market, right? And so you're gonna have a lot of people coming your way, especially when you're trying to build brand with great ideas. And at some point, you kind of have to go, wait, there's so many ways to measure things. Why would I want to go into areas unless it's a test and learn? You want to budget a little bit for that. But in general, if your budget is so tight, what is it that you want to do? Everything has to be measurable, right? So um, I don't think you can tell your bosses nowadays to not have some kind of an outcome of being able to measure your campaigns if you're not it, why would you even put yourself in that situation, I think. So I'm sorry, I'm a little lost here. So I think you can figure out different ways to measure. For example, in past campaigns, I know exactly who across the country have donated, not who, but how many people have donated to the campaign that Wells Fargo is supporting food banks, right? For example, I know that across all 50 states, even though some places we don't have a bank branches, all 50 states, somebody has donated. They have seen my ad, they have donated something to Feeding America on our behalf, right? I know, for example, that most donated dollars is $5. So I know all of this and I track everything. I know that when I'm on Good Morning America, my ATM spikes. You guys are just gonna have to find different ways as budgets gets compressed to prove your worth and prove that the campaign is working. And this is going to be even more prevalent as social media is. Every time you turn around, your brand can go up and down a couple of points because guess what? You had a bad day. Somebody said something, and your brand points go down, but so you're going to have to prove your worth as your campaign as a whole, different ways of proving, like, is this a success? And I would even go as far as using some anecdotals if you have to. I had people, customers going to the branch going, you know what, I brought this food to donate and I really only want to do it here because you know I was in bad shape in the summer and you helped me with this. So I mean, think of really creative and different ways to talk about success of your campaign and measurement.
With that in mind, when you pitched these ideas internally uh, to get approval to move forward, do you have to bake in some success metrics or build out a business case in some fashion?
Yeah, you definitely do. I'm fortunate in that they have some trust in my ability to, because I'm a fiend in measurement. Being a digital marketer at heart, I I track a lot. I'm always harping about measurement. In fact, I at the start of the campaign, one of the things that even in your briefing session, you should probably put it there. But at the start of your campaign, the measurement team is on the same is on the way on day one. I mean, you're always talking about measurement, and you're always telling your team to bring in measurement. So by this time, if you have your team to bring in ideas, including your agencies, with measurement in mind, it's probably a lot easier for you to sell through your campaigns because you're thinking about the end result in mind. Now you may not be able to hit it all, but you're gonna but people, your senior management will probably go, wow, okay, they have a plan, she or he has the whole plan, what else do you want? So I think that is going to kind of help, but you definitely have to there's some credibility building, and you build upon another on past successes. And if you fail, and it's okay, you're going to have to say, wait, we tried this, it didn't work. I mean, again, you have to build your credibility to a little bit before you
Yes.
get there.
Yeah, you have to have a bit of a track record, which
Right?
you clearly have. So you said two things that I really love in marketing. If you can't measure it, don't do it. and
Mhm.
also have the end in mind. I think those are two really good pieces of advice. You also have a secret to success. Would you mind sharing it?
I was gonna email you this morning going, maybe I wonder if I can talk about that. Okay, let me put this way. Okay, I you at least for brand building, guys, you cannot put a campaign out there and then go, I'm done, right? I mean, most of us know that is not the case anymore anyway. You're always like trying to figure out measurement or something like that, but you cannot put a campaign out there and walk away. Is there you because there's so much noise out there, guys. There's noise every single time, every single place you look, every time you turn around, there's so much noise. So the big secret is, I forgot that this is national. You got to come up with things that make you pop. You got to come up with like ideas that make you go, hey guys, I'm over here. Don't forget me. I don't care how long your campaign is. You got to have to do that, because if you don't do that, your campaign is just going to be like, hey, it's really exciting. It's just kind of like bleep and it went away. So that is my big secret. And if you really want me to help you brainstorm, I don't know, reach out to me or something.
You had said always on with spikes, but the key to the spikes is it has to be a good idea, compelling, something that will get people's attention.
And really, it's all everything I've said earlier. It's got to be real to your company. What is it about your company that works well, right? I mean, we're very different from Amazon, right? Like we're very different from, Salesforce. So what is it that is real about your company? Because people know, people get it. If you try really hard to be something completely different, you're it, it, it's going to be even harder to kind of, people are going to go like, okay, you're just a me too. What's so great about that? So it's all kind of, the same thing, right? It all comes together.
It's all
So
connected. So you have a pretty large team that you lead because you execute these really large scale initiatives. How have you adapted your leadership style to accommodate what were the realities of 2020 and coming into 2021 as well?
yeah, the campaigns are huge. I mean, when you're trying to galvanize like, 100,000 bankers or something, right? Or you're trying to galvanize a whole company to be very excited about your program, because you're brand building. You have to reach out across all of your different lines of businesses, and they want to participate. They want to support you. They're sending people to help support your program, right? They want to go like, I'm in. So that's definitely a lot of but the other good thing is, we're already, Wells Fargo already have different locations, right? So it's not like everybody was in the same room all the time. So we have that edge, right? So in some ways it hasn't changed that much, although everything is a lot more difficult during the pandemic. But I think being very, very clear on your vision, and being very clear on where you want to go, and then being very clear to structure your team. I mean, your team comes together and goes off, because your campaigns changes every single time. You could be, a campaign that I require a logistics person or security, or, sounds weird, right? Because I'm in marketing, or somebody from branches to represent that space. But you kind of want to make sure you have all these people rallying around your campaign. You have your corporate social responsibility people, completely on board. But there's a lot of ways that I've kind of spent a lot of time on this. It's organizing people in such a way that they feel empowered. You're like, you're gonna own this, and you're gonna make it work. And in my experience, if you have that much trust in people and that much faith, I would say 95% of the time they're going to come back and they're going to do a fantastic job. They're going to come up with ways that will surprise you. I also think that this also applies, by the way, to your agency partners, as well as to your media and your media partners as well. When you go buy media, when you go, because I've always seen, tell them, I want something that's real to this campaign. And how do you do your best for me? And by the way, here's the measurement we're trying to hit. Go wild, right? I mean, they'll still come back to you and they'll still check in with you, but I think that kind of like you can't control everything right now. Everything is so different. Somebody's going to be so much smarter about Twitter or some than you are. So you kind of have to like tell them what your goal is, tell them what the measurement is, the campaign success is, and then, you know, like just like package them and say, hey, this is all the other information you need. If you need more, come back to me, and then go. I mean, of course, in reality, you basically spend 24 hours talking to people all the time, but but that's pretty much about it. So I don't think it has been that different, in many ways.
Got it. Yes. So you package up the vision and the marching orders, but then you allow people to lean into their capabilities to come up with ideas that support your vision and how to best
Absolutely. Absolutely. Otherwise, you're never going to run a campaign that big and that complex, How are you going to get it? I mean, sometimes it's so hard. It's so many people, but also give people some room they are smart. They think, they want to do things, just trust a little bit. So have faith.
Have faith. I like that. You mentioned test and learn in a previous answer a little bit ago. And I think you experimented a little bit with connected TV in 2019. Can you talk a little bit about what did you test and what did you learn?
So that was during the Reestablish campaign. We had a bigger budget then. Of course, we were trying to, have rebuild our brand, and it was a really, really, it was very. It was a very important campaign. And at that time, connected TV, I think, was probably like a year or two into its infancy, or I could be wrong here. And it was exciting, right? Because from a digital thinking person thinking digitally all the time, I'm like, okay, great, we can finally target. And I was listening a little bit early to the other panel. I'm like, let's go ahead and do that. But I was kind of I have to say it was quite difficult. It was like I felt like there were so many disparate people, disparate groups you have to work with. I think I spent like maybe 19 meetings. I think our media partners spent probably even more than that, double. It was so hard, and in the end, we ended up with having this person, this company was kind of aggregating for us because it was hard in every single aspect, like the planning. We didn't have enough reach, and then after that, the measurement, we have all the brand studies, but then we were like, here's all 7 brand studies. How the hell do you consolidate all of them? Sorry, I think I just swore. How do you consolidate all of these and make sense out of it? Meanwhile, that's just one of your channels, right? It's just one piece of one of your channels. It's not even the whole channel. Like it's your TV channel or digital, whatever bucket you want to put it into. But it's one slice. And then you start to go, well, how much time do I have to spend on this to prove the worth? And is it worth? So it was great. We tested, but I would probably want to wait a little bit for the maturity before, we have such limited resources and limited funding now. So it's difficult to step back into that, And then again, people are watching TV as using the TV as a screen. So that's probably where I'm at this point. I think it's exciting. I think if we can do more targeting in a much more seamless way, but so that's kind of where I'm at.
So maybe more of it in the future than today in terms of budget, but also in terms of maybe
ease.
It evolving so that it's a little bit more efficient and seamless in terms of
process. Yeah, because as I track everything, and to be able to try to say, and it's not right. I mean, in order for it to be successful, I think you kind of have to put some money behind it. But for us to, where do you want to spend your time? Where is the return on your effort, right? That's really where it's at.
Yes. We have actually 2 good questions that have come in through Q&A that I wanted to throw your way. The first is, when it comes to communicating with your consumers, how do you think about brand purpose, and how does that impact your approach to marketing?
I'm wondering if one of my peers wrote that. No, I'm just kidding.
Putting you on the spot, Josephine.
Yeah, that put me on a spot. You know what? I think if your company has a purpose, what is that purpose? It's not that hard. If you have that purpose and what that purpose is, and then you're going to kind of create campaigns around it. What I don't think is right is if you come up with something and and you almost have to let it kind of permeate the company a little bit. And again, it's going back to really basic stuff, right? What is it you're trying to achieve in that campaign? Because I spent all my life in campaigns, guys. I can probably work on, throw me any campaigns, I can probably do it for you, but it has to be complex and interesting. You have to, you got to have a solid brief, just the basic stuff. You got to know who your audience is. And then you kind of have to let your team, including your agencies, go think a little bit, go a little bit wild, go a little bit out, you go give them the space to come back with campaign ideas that are out of the box, really different, something that your company may or may not have thought about before, because otherwise we're all running the same campaigns. And then we'll just might as well, I mean, I don't know, just it's no fun. So I think if you know what the purpose is, your purpose, and then have that as your, your guiding, your guiding light, and then brainstorm. I would brainstorm and come up with different things. I wouldn't think that, don't think that you know it all, because the world changes so fast. You're not going to be able to, what might be relevant yesterday is not going to be relevant today. So you're going to have to keep up with it. So that would be my answer.
Great. And the follow-up is around authenticity, because you talked about that a little earlier. So I want to throw you one more question.
Yeah.
How do you promote authenticity within your purpose-driven marketing strategies?
Wow, the word purpose is like the biggest jargon right now, isn't it? So
yes.
Okay. Okay. How do you promote authenticity? I don't think you can, just like as human beings, right? People know when you're fake. People know when you're trying to be something or somebody you're not. I think the same with the company. I think if Wells Fargo tries to be anybody but Wells Fargo, it's going to be hard. But people have a perception of you though, and the perception changes over time, right? People used to trust us a lot, didn't trust anymore. We're starting to rebuild our trust. We're starting to get back there a little bit more. But where is that? And you almost have to ask for permission, right? You almost have to go, at this point of Wells Fargo, is that right for us, right? Do people think that we can do this? And what is real for Wells Fargo? So, for example, boy, I'm trying to think of like a campaign, like so. For example, I'm just going to use this example. I'm just to throw it out there. So, like Amazon donates a lot of money, right? They donate a lot of money to Feeding America as well, but they can't run the same campaign as us because they don't have branches. I mean, they deliver, they have great logistics, but they don't have branches. So at Wells Fargo, we have branches. That's what's real to us, right? I can say, hey, Maggie, go ahead. When you go out to our ATM, we're making a drive for Feeding America. Would you like to help? Would you like to be part of this? You're like, yeah, sure. I would like to, $5, whatever that is. We have ATMs, right? We have all those things, but we also have a lot of people who know financial. How do you tap into that, right? People who will help you, who should help you, who will be helping you to get better with your financial life in general, because a lot of it has to do with money. So how do you bring the authenticity? And I wouldn't go and read somebody's book. I would go and do your homework. Go ahead and work really hard. Challenge your creative team to work really hard. Challenge your own team to work really hard. And challenge your media partners when they come and propose you things to go, what can you do that's real for us? And they'll tell you. So that would be my answer.
That's a great answer. Thank you. Now let's pivot to some fun questions.
Okay.
Because I put you on the spot enough. So we're talking about TV. We can't talk about TV without asking you, what are you watching these days?
I'm gonna probably embarrass myself. Let me see. I just finished The Expanse, and it was kind of interesting because towards the end they were just giving us one episode a week, and I felt like a blast to the past. I was like, okay, I'm waiting for this time is coming up. I'm going to watch that show. So I watch it a lot, but I'm also on like a number of things like I watch TikTok dancing, and I watch people playing piano on YouTube, and then anything my family is watching. Like yesterday was like the internet history. When we come together as a family, We don't watch a movie or a series or anymore. We watch whatever my kids want to show me on YouTube that they're watching. I I learned a lot though. I learned things I
Yes.
would never have been interested in. So
Yeah, they keep you young.
yes. And keep me, with the trends of the Gen Z. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, some rapid fire questions. What's your ideal start to your Sunday? Is it a gentle start or a jolt?
it's I say jolt. I'm taking, but not so much exercise, but I'm drinking a lot of juice.
Any caffeine in that juice?
No, I actually, no, I'm starting to drink coffee again on the weekends. It's been a tough pandemic, so.
Yes. Do you have a soundtrack of choice?
Okay, this is quite silly, but I'm gonna tell you off anyway. Only very few people know this. I don't actually have a soundtrack of my choice. What I do have is when I have to tackle a really, really complex problem, like really, really complex, uh what I like to do is I only like to listen to one song, and it's canon in D, and there's only one variation of it. It's just one arrangement, and I've just added another arrangement on. There's only two arrangements, but for some reason, when I put that on my glass of wine, I can solve almost any problems that have been put in front of me. So I think it's the monotony on the cello side. I don't know why, but that really helps me.
So two different arrangements of the same song.
Of the same thing. It's kind of embarrassing.
Well, I did not expect that answer. That is a good one. Very unique, Josephine. Just real quick, because we only have 1 minute left, I really would